Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is How to Get Away with Murder, Season 2, Episode 5. And let me go on record to say that this was a very intense episode. This was a very intense episode, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So I'm going to jump right in because I really enjoyed it. The episode opens with someone running through the Hastill estate. You actually see Sinclair, pretty much demangled on the floor. She runs past Sinclair, and the next thing we know, we see that it's actually Bonnie, and she runs to her car, and who's in the car with her other than Asher? So Asher and Bonnie were also at the Hastill estate when all of this occurred, and that's pretty much interesting. So it actually goes back to 3 weeks earlier. Asher is about to take the stand, against Annalise, because, remember he made that deal with Sinclair about, Trotter Lake. And while the judge is actually talking about the terminology of the case, he pretty much has a flashback where he remembers when Bonnie told him that she killed Sam, and she explains what happened. She says that Sam came in, he forced himself on her, and he wouldn't stop, so she took a lamppost and she bashed him in the head. So with that, Asher immediately just panics and he just grabs everything and just runs out. His father tries to run after him, but Asher just gets the hell up out of there. The next scene, we are back at Annalise's house. Annalise, Bonnie, and Frank are in her office, and Bonnie opens up about Asher. And pretty much, Bonnie is saying that, don't worry, I got this handled, he's not going to testify. I pretty much told him it was me, so therefore that derails what he's doing now, so I got it handled, I got it under control. And Annalise was like, oh, really? You think you got it under control because, you were screwing your little boyfriend, and because he told you that he wasn't going to do this? Like, girl, please. I was with a man for 20 years, and I thought I knew him, and I didn't know him at all. Men lie. That's what they're good at. And while they're having that conversation, Wes, Laurel, and Michaela is eavesdropping, trying to figure out what's going on, and they're saying, oh, does Asher know about Sam? Or better yet, does he know the identity of Eggs 911? And you can actually see Wes's face, because Wes is the only one who knows who Eggs 911 really is. And Wes immediately just changed the subject, like, well, maybe it's about the Hastill case. And Michaela's like, please, we're all working on that case. Why would they talk about that secretly? And then Connor comes in, drinking a beer, pretty much saying, fuck it, it doesn't matter, we're all doomed, we're all going to fall anyway, and it's just a matter of time before all of this ends. And then Laurel and Michaela was like, boy, what is wrong with you? You drinking in the middle of the day? You trying to get fired? And he was like, well, Annalise has my car, so she's blackmailing me. And Laurel's like, no, she doesn't. Frank destroyed that car. She's like, well, according to Annalise, he didn't. But then again, he maybe did, and maybe Annalise is lying to me about it. But regardless, she controls our lives. Also, what's going on the other side of this door, Annalise brings up that I caught Wes and Nate last night, and then Frank was like, screwing? She's like, no, they're working behind my back, and follow up and find out what's going on with that, and let me know if it's about Rebecca. Then Bonnie, so Frank leaves, and then Bonnie's like, well, if it was you, I knew you would have handled it. And she's like, you know what, stop it, because nothing you say is going to stop me from hating you right now. Then all of a sudden the phone rings, and Bonnie says, oh, it's the courthouse. And Annalise tells her to answer it. And Bonnie takes the call, and they let her know that, that the judge, who's actually going to be handling the Hastill case wants Annalise to report to her immediately. And she's like, today? Really? So she's completely thrown off that the judge wants to see her. And just before she's about to leave, Asher barges in, and he charges up to Frank. It's like, move or I'll break your face. And Frank kind of gave him a look like, boy, you better calm the fuck down because I will lay your ass out up in here. But then, Annalise says, oh, let him in. And Asher's like, see? And then Frank's like, but Annalise, he could be wearing a wire. And he tells her that he's not wearing one. And she's like, okay, you're not wearing a wire. Come on. So pretty much Asher goes in to talk to Annalise. The crew starts freaking out with Frank. Frank pretty much tells them all to calm the hell down, that, and that nobody bother Asher, and that, just like he has his eyes on Asher, he has his eyes on everybody, and he looks directly at Wes, because he knows Wes is holding out. In the conversation between Asher and Annalise, pretty much Asher's like, well, why didn't you go to police? And he says that, and he's pretty much saying that, if she actually did this, why did she frame Nate? That's a really stupid reason. Like, why would you do that? It just doesn't make sense to me. And she says, of course it doesn't make sense to you. You're a man. And then add the white noise on top of that, the cops will easily believe you. But when a woman says she's raped, very rarely does the court actually protect the woman. And that we, have developed a system to protect ourselves in situations like this. And she said the reason why I didn't go to the police was because I wanted to examine the case to find out what actually happened. So she pretty much tells him that you have one or two things that you can do right now. She says, testify and both myself and Bonnie can go to jail, or you can say nothing and we can be safe and so can you. But then again, Annalise doesn't know that there is a case that's being held over Asher's head that he's trying to get rid of. So after that, Asher goes back to Sinclair and his father. They're like, what the hell happened to you? And he was like, something came up. And she's like, well, I don't know why the hell you even here, because hell, the judges, has just dismissed our case, Well, actually, the judge has picked up another case, so we can't go back, And he was saying that, no, I actually have more information. I know who killed Sam Keating. But actually, that's rather interesting. So pretty much it goes back, and Asher's father and him are having a conversation, and the father's like going off like, you withheld information. Do you realize you just committed a crime? And, Sinclair pretty much approaches Asher and asks him like, so who killed Sam? And the father's like, don't answer that. He's like, okay, you can just tell me when I get back. And they're like, where you going? He's like, look, I got to report to the judge about the Hastel case, and I'm already kind of running behind, so I got to hurry up and get to her. And therefore, with that, Asher decides to tell Sinclair that he wants to, renegotiate his deal. That more the fact that he has info about Annalise, but also info about the murder, that he wants, full immunity, for, his situation with Annalise, but also the situation involving Sam's murder. So she pretty much kind of thinks on it, and then the next scene, we're actually in the courts, in the judge's office, where Annalise and Sinclair are there, and the reason why they're being summoned by the judge is because Sinclair, pretty much, 48 hours prior, submitted information to the judge that she wants to keep the testimony of the aunt, who testified in the previous trial, but then she ended up dead. She says that she wants to keep her testimony there. And it's funny that the reason why I'm bringing this, and the judge is pretty much saying, like, look, the reason why I'm bringing this up because it just entered into my desk, like, like maybe a day or so ago. So, and it was just literally right before the deadline. And Annalise was like, yeah, so I wouldn't have an opportunity to challenge it. And she's like, well, you can challenge it now. We're here. I mean, just being a real smart-ass bitch, Sinclair. And the judge decides, okay, due to this, I want to hold a hearing at the end of the day, like around 5. And she's like, well, and then like, pretty much Annalise is kind of like throwing off. She's like, well, I need time to prepare. And then Sinclair was like, well, yeah, I need time to prepare. I don't even have anything going. She's like, oh, did you give Miss Keating that same tendency when you decided to forward this in at the last minute so she couldn't challenge it? Yeah, I don't think so. So, as I said, I'm having a hearing, and if you don't show up, I'm ruling in the favor of the other side. So now they have to figure out a way. So now Annalise is given a task to prove why this aunt is not a credible witness in this case. So back at the house, the crew is going over and over about how, that everything is over and that their lives are going down, and Connor even jokes that since we're all about to go down, we should just have one big old orgy and go out with a bang. Wes gets a text from Levi and is about to leave, but yet what happens is that Annalise stops him and tells him, where the hell you think you're going? He's like, nowhere. Like, okay, we got work to do. We got a case. Let's go. So she leads them to the basement. She tells them that they have to discredit the aunt's testimony, and that pretty much, the DA is trying to keep her because she is the strongest witness in the case. But then Michaela's like, but she's dead. And she's like, yeah, even making her more credible to the case. So, Sinclair wants to keep the witness, the aunt's testimony. And he says, find anything you can to discredit her, and we got to do it by 5 p.m. So I can present this to the judge. And after Annalise goes upstairs and leaves them downstairs in the basement to go through all the files for the Hastos case, Annalise gets a call from Bonnie, and Bonnie's right in front of Ash's house, and she reports that that the case was extended, and she thinks he had bought time, and Annalise is like, you think or do you know? And next thing you know, she says she'll call her back because, Asher has finally approached her, and they're in the car, and they're talking, and he tells her that he hasn't told Sinclair anything yet, but he has some questions for her. And he asks her, did Frank help her that night? And she said no. He asks, does the others know about this? And she says no, they don't know anything. They were at the bonfire. And then he asks that you coming over and us, getting together that night, was that just only for you to establish your alibi? And she's hesitant at first, but then she says yes, but that is not at all how I feel about you now. So with that, he ends up getting out of the car. Next, we actually see that Frank gives Annalise proof that Wes and Nate did have an interaction, and that it involved Levi, who is Rebecca's stepbrother. Next, we see Wes on the phone with Levi, who's staking out the cemetery, and he sees who Bruno is, and he's pretty much just sitting there looking at Bruno. And then people, and like Bruno was pretty much the guy who works at the cemetery who they found out about the last episode. And next thing you know, we see that Levi gets a call from Michaela, so he takes it. And then Frank also tells Annalise that Levi has been messing around with Michaela and that they are involved, but I don't think she knows who he is. But Annalise like, but Wes does. It's like, yeah, shady, isn't it? So we actually see that that Michaela is on the phone with Levi, and he's asking her what kind of panties she got on. You know, he's like, send me a pic. She's like, well, I don't do sexting, but they're pink with white lace, and then next thing you know, Annalise comes up and pretty much, you know, saying, oh, so this is what you're doing besides your work, you're sex talking with your boo. She grabs her phone and tells them to get their thumbs out of their asses and get me proof that this aunt is lied. And then she just goes off and and keeps Michaela's phone, and she puts her phone in, you know, this in like this vase or something, and then she pretty much says that, you look, keep them away from Wes. And Frank is like, well, where are you going? She's like, I'm going to go kick some ass. We actually see what Annalise actually does is that she meets up with Nate, and she opens up about, you know, her meeting Nia, his wife, and why she really, you know, what Nia really wanted her to do, you know, as far as giving her pills to kill herself. So she told him about that, but she says that you know, I would have never done that, and, you know, I don't want to keep any more secrets from you, and that she's there for him whenever he needs her. And he grabs her hand and tells her thank you, and he gets out the car. So definitely he's not saying anything either. So she knows something's going on between him and Wes, but Nate's not talking. So next we see Frank goes down to the basement with with Laurel, and next thing you know, it gets extremely steamy. They pretty much, you know, start going at it, you know, taking off their clothes and everything, and Laurel saying that, you know, if we're going down for this, I want to go out with a bang. You know, I don't want to think about this no more. I just want to, you know, get crazy, and I just want to get freaky. So, Laurel strips, and Frank just goes in and he tears her ass up. Like, literally tears her up. And while that's going on downstairs in the basement, Bonnie walks in and she asks, where's Annalise? And Connor's like, I'll tell you if you tell us about Asher. And she says, that doesn't concern you. And then like, Wes is like, bullshit. And while that's going on, Michaela actually finds some video footage online where the aunt, you know, the next day after the murder, you know, the aunt is going on this tirade talking about Catherine and Caleb, and calling her Oriental and calling him a mulatto, you know, just being extremely racist, and saying that those monsters killed them, and blah blah blah, and they're all watching it, and lo and behold, you know, they look back and Caleb has walked in, and you can definitely tell he's bothered by what he's seeing on the video. So he storms out, and he's pissed off, and he was like, oh yeah, just thought of it. The reason why I'm here was because Annalise said that, you know, she needed something to discredit Aunt Helen. Well, you know, I brought all this medication, and I thought maybe drug abuse would have been a good one. And then, you know, Michaela pretty much goes after him and, you know, pretty much tries to tell him that, look, you know, it's mean, it's messed up, but this could really help your case. And he's like, how? Because, you know, due to the fact that she's racially biased, and that, you know, that because of her, you know, her feelings, you know, we can actually use that she practically lied about you guys. And she's like, she wasn't lying. And she's like, what? She's like, no. To tell you the truth, I've been around that woman all my life, and to be honest with you, that is the most truthful I've ever seen her. He says that, you know, being kids, we used to see her at all the holidays, and she would bitch about her society friends, and you know, talk about the next husband that she was divorcing, and we all got a kick out of it. And all this, and the whole time I'm thinking I'm in on the joke, I was the joke. But then Michaela's saying that, look, this could actually win your case, and he says, or maybe not, but get trying. I mean, Caleb is arrogant as hell, but more and more we're starting to see that, Caleb may be innocent in all this. Because the fact that he saw that video, he was actually bothered by it. Not saying, pretty much not in the case that, oh damn, we could use this, so we can definitely get off. He was actually bothered, because he was actually shocked that his aunt really felt that way about him and Catherine. So, moving on. We actually see that Sinclair negotiates another deal with Asher. She gets him full immunity for Trotter Lake, as well as immunity for involvement with the whole Sam's murder, on the condition that the judge makes a conviction in the case. He tells Sinclair he needs to speak with his father, and he pretty much tells his father that, after this happens, Annalise is going to go after you over the David Allen case. And he's like, I didn't do anything wrong. She's like, Dad, come on, man. We're actually here based on some of my dirt that's now come up. You could at least be honest, so we can be adults about this and have an honest conversation. And he's saying that, yeah, but I'm the only adult who has a career to lose. Immediately, Asher realizes that his damn father done made a deal with Sinclair as well, and that it has to do with the David Allen case. So Asher immediately gets in his feelings, and it's like, you would think that for once you would just want to defend your own son. And he's saying that, I am, son, I'm defending both of us. Asher gets mad, he takes the deal, and he doesn't sign it, but he takes the actual paperwork, and he leaves. Now, this is my issue with Asher. Asher is a punk ass bitch. And the reason why I say that is because he has this real arrogance about him that, he feels that no one should get away with the law, but that's exactly what you and your father are doing. It's just that you guys have the money in the pool and that you guys are making side deals to get out of this shit that you've done that you don't want to face in court. Because obviously Trotter Lake was probably a serious situation. Either that girl was either raped or murdered or something, but it's obviously really bad that he could do some serious jail time. So here he is being a spoiled brat, and then also being this arrogant snob who wants to come after Annalise and come after them for doing their crimes when you're just as guilty as they are. It's like the double standard, and it's like that's what's really pissing me off with Asher's character. Even his father taking the deal. Look, how the hell you think she was gonna, how do you think she got to you, stupid? She had something on your dad as well. Like, let's be real. When your father decided to go make that deal for you, I'm pretty sure she pulled up David Allen's case and threw it in his face. So, that's the only reason why that shit pulled off. He just decided to work with his shit to help you. You ungrateful little shit. Okay, moving on. Bonnie, Annalise, they actually finally see the video of the aunt going on this racist tirade against Caleb and Catherine. And we actually see that once the police begin to interrogate her, the video cuts off. So it's obvious that the video has been edited. Annalise and Connor, then go back and forth, and, Connor's definitely being real nasty and real slick with the mouth. And she pretty much tells him that, so this is what you're doing now? You're drinking in the middle of the day, and now you're sassing me because you're mad at me? And she's saying that, you know what, I actually miss that guy who I gave the trophy to. Which immediately shuts Connor down because, we all know that Connor has changed. And that Connor's not the same slick motherfucker he used to be. It's like now he's, this person who complains all the time, but then also he's in love. So another side of him has kicked in, and he's no longer responding to his job the same way. Laurel and Frank come back, and they're like, where the hell have you two been? And and immediately Connor just jokes like, it looks like somebody got their jollies today. You know, Connor's a mess. I mean, it goes to show you that Connor was a real freak before he got with Oliver. So he already knew, just from the looks of them, that the two of them were having sex downstairs. So she's like, well, hey, I had to get it in where I can. The next scene, we actually see Connor and Michaela meet up with Oliver, who's hacking to find the actual missing the missing footage from the video. And, you know, Connor jokes like, man, as much as you guys be having me hack the police department, I should be getting paid for this. I mean, due to the fact that I could land in jail doing this shit. I mean, I don't mind doing it, but it's like, damn, every time I turn around, y'all asking me to hack the damn police department. And then that's when Connor admits he might be going to jail. And of course, you know, Oliver wants to know why. And he's saying, I can't tell you that, but just know that, I could be going to jail, and that you mean everything to me, and that I love you. So that's actually the first time we actually really heard him say that he loved Oliver. So Oliver definitely feels some kind of way, but then again, it's like he's got mixed feelings. And then Michaela comes back and he's pretty much lets him know, okay, I'm still looking for the footage. So I think even though this situation has happened, I really do feel that Oliver, is in love with Connor as well, and I think he's going to stand by him. That's just pretty much my personal assessment there, that even though things are bad, he's still going to look out for Connor. Okay, next, we actually see Sinclair and Asher at a bar drinking, and Asher's not drinking at all, saying, like, don't try to get me drunk to go along with your bullshit. And she pretty much just goes in and says, like, first of all, I know you didn't kill Sam, but that was a good move. It actually you actually used it to get more time, and, that was clever. But he pretty much said that, look, and pretty much he was saying that I wish I didn't have to do this at all. And she's pretty much saying, well, it's out of my control. And he's like, what do you mean? He's pretty much like, well, what do you mean? You could easily end this, but you choose not to. And she's like, well, come on. And he's saying, like, come on, talk about, and then he starts talking about Sam, that, look, Sam was not a good person. He actually murdered Lila Stangard, and he choked her to death. Like, what the hell is that? And she's saying that, it's like, who the hell gives a damn that Sam is dead? And she's like, well, I do. She's like, but why? He's like, well, yeah, he may have committed a crime, but he was also murdered. And you just can't murder people and get away with it. And so he's pretty much saying that, yeah, we're young. When we're young, we mess up. We do crazy things. But Annalise knows better. She's now a person who's a college, professor, and yet she has a lot of people looking up to her, and this is the way she acts? Like, oh no, I'm not letting this go down. And, he kind of just like, oh, so what? You think we're going to have, like, little mini Annalises running around killing people? Like, what kind of shit what are you getting at? But then she pretty much lays it down that, look, you have a decision. I mean, do you want to be like Annalise, or do you want to be one of the good guys? And just another fucking power play by fucking Sinclair, and I'm about to go in on this bitch too. First of all, you talk about being a good guy and, being on the good side. Bitch, you're just as twisted and evil and just as sneaky as Annalise is. And you're no fucking better. It's just that you feel because of white privilege that you are better. And I kind of get that vibe from Sinclair. Is that she really wants to take Annalise down because she wants to be that top criminal attorney that Annalise is. And she wants to make a career leap off of Annalise's back. And on top of it, bitch, you're blackmailing Asher and you're blackmailing his father to testify against her so that you could win your case. Bitch, stop it. You're fucking manipulating people and you're making side deals and doing all type of criminal shit to get your fucking case. Shut the fuck up, bitch. Like, ooh. Like, I just can't stand her ass because it's like, it's the double standard shit. You want to talk about Annalise doing shit illegal, but yet you're doing illegal shit too. You're holding people's shit over their heads to make them to make them, you know, give in to what you want. You're practically saying that I'm going to convict you if you don't do what I want. You know, you're blackmailing both of them. So you're no fucking saint. Have several seats. Trifling ass bitch. Okay, I'm done. I mean, I just said I just had to lay that out about Sinclair because I can't stand that bitch. Michaela Connor and you know, present their findings that Oliver discovered. They present it to Annalise, and they say that the video footage is gone, but the audio remains. And you can actually hear when the cop is interrogating her, asking like, "How do you know that they killed your brother? And how do you know that they killed your brother and his wife?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just going off and all this. I really don't know." She practically presents this. Annalise actually presents this at the hearing, you know, with the judge, and Sinclair says that you know, it's been given to me that this footage was actually obtained illegally, so it can't be admissible in court. They pretty much go back and forth, and you know, pretty much, you know, Annalise is saying that first of all, I didn't obtain it illegally. It was actually brought to my desk, so I don't know what the hell you talking about. And she was saying that I was told to prove my argument that Aunt Helen was not a credible witness, and I have done so. So it's the end of story. The judge, however, is saying that, well, this may be, an interesting thing, but if you obtain this illegally, I'm not going to actually admit this in my court. And and pretty much Annalise is like, I didn't do nothing illegally, and the judge is like, well, I don't believe you. So the judge rules that in also previous cases, people have been known to change their story. Once time progresses, they actually open up to what the truth is, and that a lot of times the witness is irate, when something happens. So that may be the case here. So I'm actually ruling in favor of the prosecution, and that Helen's testimony is still going to be used in the case. And immediately when that happens, Catherine goes the fuck off. She says she was a racist. This video proves this, and you're black. If anybody, you should know how this feels like. So I was like, whoa. She let that damn judge, she let her ass have it. But then the judge says that I do get it, and I apologize, but I have to uphold the law regardless of my personal preferences. And then Connor, being a dickhead, jokes with Michaela and says that, see, that's what happens when you don't have an orgasm. Just somewhere out the blue, you just have an inappropriate explosion. And Michaela obviously was focused on what happened, and she's like, no, she had the appropriate explosion. And then we actually see that Wes leaves out, and Laura's like, where are you going? And he's like, well, I'm gonna go get the orgy drugs. I'll be back. And turns out what's really going on is that he actually is going to meet up with Levi. And Levi decides to approach Bruno to find out what's going on. He interrogates him about Frank, and Bruno is like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And soon enough after he says that, Levi pulls out a gun and pretty much again further interrogating him that, he told you to remove a body, and like Wes gets in the middle of it and says that no, nobody's getting killed. And then he tells Bruno, like, look, just tell us what you and Frank talked about that night and we'll be on our way. Next scene, we actually see that Wes comes back to the house, and Bonnie is there. Um, Bonnie is there alone with them. So Michaela immediately gets up and starts asking her questions about Asher, and saying that it doesn't concern you. She's like, it does concern us if we're going to be arrested. She says nobody's going to be arrested. She's like, and then like Connor's like, really, and then Frank comes in and is like, yeah, really. So back the hell off. Laura says no. Someone talked to Asher, and who else would talk to Asher other than his girlfriend about the case? And then Connor was joking like, oh yeah, like, did you kind of slip it to him while pillow talking? And Michaela gets in Bonnie's face and it's like, oh, if he actually did it, girl, I swear to God. And then next thing you know, Annalise comes in and tells her to get the hell away from her. Tells Michaela to get the hell away from Bonnie. And she says, you guys want to know the truth? Here it is. The truth is that Asher was going to testify on everybody. But Bonnie just, told him that she killed Sam so that she can save your asses. That's what we do around here. We're sacrificing ourselves for you. Myself, Bonnie, Nate. We're all, being destroyed so that you guys can still be free. It's like, so who else? Who else has to be destroyed so that you guys can be free? And then Michaela's like, well, why didn't you tell us? She's like, because I was protecting you as I've always done. Why don't you guys realize that? And then we also see, she actually looks at Wes, and Wes has this real smirk-ass look on his face like, yeah, really, bitch? Kind of look. So you can definitely tell that Wes is not really Team Annalise right now. So, next thing we also, we actually see while this is going on, Frank leaves his keys on a desk outside of Annalise's office. And this desk, and then, on his key is his actual key to a storage bin. So when we actually see the keys, it actually goes back to when, Levi and Wes, corner Bruno, and Wes pretty much, tells Bruno, like, look, just tell us why Frank called you, and, that night, and we'll leave you alone. So he tells him that, look, Frank called me because he wanted to use my storage that night, so I gave him my key. So afterwards, Annalise, Bonnie, and Frank go to her office. She breaks down and saying that, look, we are losing ground right now with Asher, with Levi, and with Nate, and Wes doesn't, and with Nate and Wes, and that neither one of them is talking to her, and she doesn't know how to fix this. She doesn't know how they're gonna rise out of this. But Frank assures her that they're gonna handle this, and that they're gonna get business done as always. Bonnie and Frank finally leave Annalise's office, and he gets his keys, and you can kind of see Wes overlooking, so obviously Wes has taken the storage key off of his key ring. Annalise then calls Wes into her office. And when that happens, Connor, Laurel, and Michaela begin to question Wes. Has he been really in on this whole thing the whole time? Because, Annalise trusts Wes the most. So is it true that Wes has been in on everything and he's just been holding back from us? And then, like, Connor says, yeah, the puppy is a snake. So we're already starting to see that there's a division where the three of them is now starting to be against Wes. Annalise and Wes have a conversation. She asks why he left early, and he says that he had a paper to finish. Lying motherfucker. And also he admits that he's sleeping better, and she wants to know, is everything between us, as far as our relationship. And he lets her know that, yeah, I was upset that you lied about what was going on with Asher, but you already told us, so now I have nothing to be mad about. That, I think, pretty much pissed her off. So afterwards, we see her go to Nate, and she confesses to him that she saw the two of them together the other night. So she knows something is going on, and that Wes is lying to her, and that you're going to tell me what's really going on. You're going to let me know what's going on. Within that same time frame, Wes meets up with Levi. He lets him know that he got the storage key, and he says, if you act like a fucking idiot again, I'm telling Frank and Annalise who you are. And he's like, come on, man. I left the gun at your house. And then next thing you know, Michaela, Connor, and Laurel pull up. So they pretty much decided to follow Wes. And, you know, they actually see that, you know, that he's with Levi, and immediately Michaela recognizes Levi. So it goes back to between Nate and Annalise, and he pretty much tells her that, you know, Wes thinks that she killed Rebecca, and she's like, you believe him? And he says, why the hell wouldn't I believe him? And he's like, if she tells him, I'm not a killer, Nate, you know that about me. And she said, I didn't kill anyone, and I owe you the truth. So then Michaela, when she immediately sees Levi and Wes together, she goes off. She's like, are you two gay for each other? Like, boy, I swear I will cut your balls off if you lying to me about this. Because, of course, like, they're like, no. She's like, I'll cut your balls off if you lie to me. And he's like, and he finally tells her that Levi is Rebecca's foster brother. And she's like, wait a minute, how could that be? I mean, I just randomly met this guy. We met at the courthouse. We went on a few dates. And, you know, finally, Wes tells her that Levi is Eggs 911. Then it goes back to Nate and Annalise. And Annalise finally tells Nate that Bonnie killed Sam, and, you know, I did what I did to you to protect her. And she's like, but he was saying that, what about me? Where was my protection? So immediately, you know, back, you know, with the crew, with Levi, you know, they pretty much go in on Wes. Laurel's like, so you just practically lied to us, the people who have been with you this whole time? Levi tries to talk to Michaela, and Michaela's like, get the hell away from me. And then Connor, with the defense, are like, don't you ever touch her again. And pretty much, you know, Wes, you know, pretty much admits that, you know, we think Rebecca's dead. You know, Levi didn't hear from Rebecca after that 911 text, and he hasn't heard from her since then. So Rebecca's dead, and, you know, and we think someone killed her. And immediately Levi says, oh yeah, Annalise and Frank. And then Laurel's like, oh hell no, Frank had nothing to do with this. and then like Michaela's like, well, how do you know Rebecca's dead? And then Wes pulls out the damn storage key. This tells everything. So then it goes back to, you know, Nate and Annalise. You know, after he's asking, where was my protection? Why didn't you protect me? And she's like, I did protect you. I knew that Eve would get you off. And he's like, you didn't know if Eve would have got me off. What if she had lost the case and I would have went down for this? What was you going to do then? She's like, I don't know. But I hate myself for what I did to you. I hate myself. And she said, I would rather die than to hurt you again. And I can say, like, within that, I think her conversation with Mia really got her thinking. So I'm thinking now she's really starting to develop feelings for Nate. But Nate don't want to give her ass the time of day because he's still pissed that she framed him. And I don't blame him. But then again, it's like, okay, dude, you know, you already know why she did what she did, but yet you're still in your feelings. But then again, Nate pretty much is a sad character. I mean, one, his wife's dying, and he got framed for a crime he didn't commit. I mean, he's definitely angry as hell right now. But you can definitely tell when, you know, when Mia actually told Annalise in the previous episode about how she hurt Nate when she framed him, and it really tore him apart. So we can definitely see that, she thought on what Nia told her. Next thing you know, back at the scene with Levi and the crew, the police pull up on the crew. They panic thinking that the police is there for them, and it's like, oh my God, guys, it's happening, because it's like, a squad of police pull up on them. They actually asked about Levi, and they say that, we're here to search your car, and he's like, you're not searching my car, and he's like, well, we got a warrant, so we're going to bust it. They bust open Levi's trunk and see 2 bags of crystal meth, and, they pretty much lock up Levi. Levi's like, help me, damn it. What is this? I didn't do nothing wrong. I didn't do anything. That's not my stuff. That's not my drugs. And all of them are just standing there while he's being carted off to jail. The next scene, we see Bonnie meets up with Asher at a bar. She apologizes for using him as an alibi, and she begs him not to do this, and that it will affect everyone and that she's a good person, And he's like, well, good people don't do what you did. Good people wouldn't do what you just did. And she said that a good person would if that was the only thing, if that was the only choice. So we can really just tell that Asher has never really dealt with any situation like this ever in his life because he's a privileged kid. He had a great childhood, he came from from the 1%, because his father's rich. So he doesn't know how things really go in the real world. He only knows his side of life and his way of looking at things. So, and within this conversation, she breaks down and she actually tells him that she loves him, and he says, "I love you too," and which is why I can't do this, because lies follow you and eventually they eat away at you. So he pretty much, she tries to get him to stay, but he kind of pulls away and he leaves. She starts bawling, crying, because she knows that Asher is now going to testify against her, and that he's going to tell them everything. And she cries to Annalise saying that, just put it all on me. You're right. I can't do anything right by myself, and I'm so stupid, and how could I have done this? But, no, I'm going to protect you guys. Put everything on me. I'll go down for this. Put everything on me. Which I think really struck Annalise, that Annalise was willing, that Becky was willing to go, that Bonnie was willing to go down for a crime she didn't even commit. And I think that sparked something in Annalise. So the next scene, we actually see that, the crew arrive at the storage bin. They think the suitcase has Rebecca's body in it, of course, and no one wants to open it, but Wes takes charge and says that he's going to do it. Next, we actually see that Annalise goes to Asher with a hard drive, and I'm definitely going to touch on that in a second. Wes then opens the suitcase, and what is it in it other than a bunch of money? So here it is, thinking that they're going to find a body. They just found a suitcase full of cash. And they pretty much show us a flashback, and they show us that Bruno and Frank are in the mausoleum of the cemetery, of the funeral home, and he pretty much feeds Bruno his alibi, that if people come up asking any questions, just let them know that that night you actually I actually called you about the storage bin and you gave me your storage key. That's what you tell them. So we actually see that Frank is actually 2 steps ahead of both, Levi and Wes. We actually see him framing, Levi by placing the drugs in his trunk, and then we actually see him placing the suitcase full of money into the storage bin. So Frank, that motherfucker is awesome. I mean, Frank could be like a gladiator. That's how good he is. And pretty much once they see that the suitcase is full of money, Connor gets pissed off like, great job, you just led us to nothing. You and your damn theories about you and that damn Rebecca. And then Michaela is mad because you knew who Edge 911 was, and yet you pretty much let me sleep with him, and I knew nothing. And then Laurel is like, here it is, here it is, you brought us here, and it's a dead end. And he's like, well, maybe this money has something to do with Rebecca. She's like, you know what, just stop. Just stop. And then all three of them leave, and now you can see that they're now against Wes. Because they're seeing that Wes has been holding secrets from them, and that Wes has his own agenda. Now, going back to Annalise. Annalise goes to Asher with a hard drive, and, Asher is pretty much saying that, look, I'm going to testify. There's nothing you're going to do is going to change my mind. She's going down for this. She needs to tell the truth. She needs to, be a good person and face what she's done. And I'm thinking, like, you self-righteous piece of shit. Like, you need to face what you've done at Charter Lake, which I hope they now eventually get to, because I want to know what this motherfucker did. Because you're being real self-righteous right now and completely full of yourself that you're doing what's right, but then yet you're doing wrong on your end. So Annalise says, you think you know how the way the world works, but you don't. There's certain people who don't have the same lifestyle as you, nor the same opportunities. And, some people, have crimes where the courts really don't vouch for them. So she puts in the hard drive, and it's a video of a case involving this little girl who's pretty much sexually molested by her own father. And Annalise tells Asher that that's Bonnie, and that man is her father. So she pretty much is using the fact that Bonnie was actually sexually molested by her father, and this happened repetitively, and you actually see Asher break down, and, because he can't believe what he's saying, because, as I said, Asher has always been upper crust. He's a part of the 1%. He's never had to deal with anything like this, or never had to been exposed to anything like this. So it immediately gets to him emotionally that this was happening to a little girl. And that also the fact that little girl could be Bonnie. It then fast forwards back to 6 weeks later. Asher and Bonnie are in the car. She stops the car, and he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So, because Connor's Asher, I meant to say Asher. Asher is obviously freaking the hell out. And Bonnie's like, it's okay. I'm just going to go to the bathroom. She goes to this bathroom at this, rest stop or whatever. She locks the door, and we actually see that she has blood all over her. And she begins to wash the blood off her body. She gets rid of the blood-stained blouse, and she gets herself together. And as soon as she comes out of the restroom, she sees that Asher is missing. And then the next thing you know, we see him at a police station, and he's telling the police he wants to make a statement. Now, these are my predictions. I truly believe that Sinclair is more involved in this Haskell case than she is letting on. And I think her winning this is she's protecting who the real killer is. And that's just a theory I'm working on. And personally, as far as Asher, that punk motherfucker, I'm trying my best not to go off, but Asher's really starting to piss me off. And Wes is starting to piss me off too, because Wes obviously is just being led on a goose chase and he doesn't know what he's doing, but Wes has this ego that he knows his shit, when yet you're a puppy, you know some things, but you really don't know the league that you're in, and you really don't know what's going on. You just immediately just followed an assumption and just ran with it. Because he's completely getting a nigga dead end. Because Annalise didn't kill Rebecca, but that's what he's thinking. But as far as Asher, I want to know what really happened at Trotter Lake, because I really do feel that this could really destroy Asher if it gets out. And I think that's the reason why he's being the way he is, trying to turn on them to protect himself. And it's really bothering to me. And then again, also, what was Bonnie and Asher doing at the Haskell estate? The same place where Annalise was bleeding on the floor and Sinclair is dead. What the hell were they doing there? What was their involvement? You know, were they more involved in the case? Were they actually more involved in the scene and we just didn't actually see, you know, or better yet, were they on opposite sides of the house? Because it is a big estate. So could it be that, you know, Bonnie and Asher were, you know, they committed that, you know, Bonnie obviously did something to somebody at that estate and Asher was there and he witnessed it? Or, you know, what happened when Annalise is on the other side of the house and that the two of them don't know anything about it? Or do they? So that's my review for How to Get Away with Murder. Please subscribe to my channel, you know, and definitely, you know, give your comments, like this video. Definitely follow with me, you know, because I'll be back next week for another episode of How to Get Away with Murder. It's been real, guys, and I definitely look forward to seeing you guys again. Stay tuned.